Discover the incredible secrets of Earth's Cambrian explosion. An inspiring journey into hidden wonders. The sun was just beginning to dip behind the hills of Crescent Hollow, flooding the small rural town with golden light, when 17-year-old Ellie Rogers peered into the depths of her late grandfather's cluttered garage. Dust danced in the air as she rifled through forgotten boxes, excitement bubbling in her chest. Today might be different. Today she might find something that sparkles with adventure, a fossil, perhaps, from the Cambrian period. One that would bridge her small town to wonders no one here could imagine. As her fingers grazed the smooth silhouette of a rock, she felt a spark. This was what life was meant to feel like. Yet, like a soft sigh that follows a loud laugh, the weight of her family's struggles gnawed at her spirit. Her family had been teetering on the edge of financial collapse for years, each shift in the unpredictable economy sending waves of worry crashing into her mother's heart. That sentiment echoed through every corner of the diner where Ellie worked, grinding out hours for tips and serving plates of comfort food to the same familiar faces. Each plate she set down felt heavier than the last, the dreams she carried feeling more like curses in the face of stagnation. One afternoon at the diner, she met Mr. Thompson, a retired veteran whose gravelly voice blended with the clinks of silverware. He spoke of the Cambrian explosion as if it were a memory, sharing the tantalizing evolution of life on Earth with a kind of reverence that ignited something deep inside her. Life was once a whisper, Ellie, he said, eyes sparkling, and then, it roared. His stories tied the ancient wonders to the very ground beneath their feet, filling her heart with hope and a surge of purpose. Inspired, Ellie hatched a plan, a community exhibition to celebrate both their history and the treasures of the earth. But when she excitedly pitched her idea at the diner, an oppressive silence fell. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the customers, each skepticism a stab at her dreams. Why dream big when life tells us to play it safe? One elder scoffed, shaking their head. Ellie felt the flickering flame of hope threatened by cynicism, her heart pounding against the confines of familiar doubt. Yet deep inside, she was determined she had to honor her grandfather's legacy and find a way to share her discoveries. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that is happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. Days turned into weeks, and just as her ambitions felt tethered, Ellie stumbled upon a dusty box in her grandfather's garage. Inside, tattered journals revealed his struggles and triumphs, detailing his own journey to uncover the same fossils she cherished. With each page, the walls of doubt began to crack. Would honoring her grandfather's legacy be enough to challenge the town's fear of ambition? Yet, just as hope surged within her, she caught whispers that threatened to douse her fire once more. What will they say? Is it worth the risk? With every passing doubt, Ellie stood before a crossroads, knowing the stakes were higher than just an exhibit. A battle of dreams versus tradition loomed ahead, leaving her trembling with anxious uncertainty. Would she dare to uplift her community? And could they find the courage to embrace a shared ambition beneath their heavy fears? The following week felt like a roller coaster for Ellie. Between work shifts at the diner, she returned to her grandfather's garage, sifting through more boxes filled with mementos that seemed to breathe life into her dreams. Every rusted tool and dusty collection of rocks whispered stories of perseverance to her. The journals, now dog-eared and cherished, urged her forward. She had to accede as she polished her proposal for the exhibition. Ellie felt the anticipation build like rising tides. It wasn't just about fossils. It was about rekindling hope within her community. With each word she typed, images of the town flooding the small community center filled her mind. Tables lined with ancient remnants, children's laughter mingling with the excited discussions of adults, and a renewed sense of purpose casting shadows on years of resignation. But with this newfound energy came vulnerability. Ellie knew she had to present her idea again, this time to the town council. Their faces had haunted her since the diner meeting, eyebrows arched in skepticism and lips curled in disapproval. Yet, she felt a strong pull to confront that disbelief. If she could just ignite a spark of excitement, the show would become more than just an exhibition, it could be a revival. The day of the meeting arrived, and the sun streamed through the windows of the town hall, illuminating the dust swirling in the air and her palpable anxiety. She stood at the lectern, clutching her notes like a lifeline. Her voice trembled as she began, the serious faces of the council staring back at her. "Thank you for letting me speak," she started, heart racing. "I believe our town can be more than it is. We have a unique history that connects us to a world that existed long before us." As she detailed her plans, each word was a small victory. She spoke of the Cambrian period, of the incredible life forms that once thrived where they now stood. Her passion poured out of her like sunlight, illuminating the dark corners of doubt. Yet, she could see the hesitation in their eyes. They were waiting for the moment to pounce, just as she had feared. "Ellie, it's commendable," one council member spoke, cutting through the hopeful atmosphere. "But this is a small town. We've got to focus on what's practical. How can we go back to dreaming when so many are struggling here and now?" Those words hit Ellie like a punch to the gut. They spoke to the fears that loomed large in her mind, the fear that her dreams were destined to drown in practicality. The air in the room felt thick around her, heavy with the weight of tradition. But something inside her shifted. This was precisely why she needed to push forward. Crescent Hollow needed a new narrative, a chance to believe again. In that moment, she took a deep breath, leveled her gaze and replied, "But what if dreaming big is what we need? What if it can remind us of who we are and who we could be?" The words slipped out before she could second-guess them. Ringing clear and echoing in the stillness, a stir ran through the room. Some council members shifted in their seats, exchanging glances. She saw a flicker of intrigue in a few eyes, but would it be enough? Or would the dark clouds of pessimism engulf her once more? As she stepped down from the lectern, Ellie felt both exhilaration and dread. She had spoken her truth, but could her passion counter the resignation of her community? It was a gamble that could either breathe life into her vision or plunge it into silence. Leaving the hall, she glanced up at the sky, which had turned a bruised purple as the sun set. The uncertainty felt endless, but she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The battle for hope had opened, and she was determined to stay in the fight. What she didn't expect was the voice that quietly approached her in the shadows. A familiar one, offering support but also secrets long hidden. "Ellie, wait up. There's something you need to know." Ellie turned, her heart racing again. It was Jake, his brow furrowed with concern, casting a long shadow as he emerged from the dark of the doorway. His usual easy smile was absent, replaced by something serious. She felt a tightening in her chest. "What's wrong?" she asked, instinctively stepping closer. "I heard your speech," he replied, glancing back towards the council room as if afraid someone might overhear. "You really put yourself out there. It was courageous." "Thanks," she mumbled, still half caught up in the whirlwind of her own thoughts. The council's doubts still echoed in her mind. "But you didn't come out here just to praise me, did you?" Jake hesitated, shoving his hands into his pockets. "No, I didn't. There's something else I need to tell you about the fossils." Ellie's heart skipped. "What about them?" He glanced around again. "Let's go somewhere more private." They walked to the small park nearby, where the silence was soothing, interrupted only by the rustling leaves. "A couple of weeks ago, while I was out looking for gravel, I found something unusual, some real fossils, not just the ones we've been digging up." Her eyes widened. "What do you mean? Like significant?" "Yeah," he said, now a bit animated. "It's a series of different specimens clearly from the Cambrian period. They're astonishing. I'm telling you, it could validate everything you're proposing if we can get them recognized." Encouraged, Ellie's excitement bubbled up. "You really think so?" The idea twisted through her mind like a vine, growing more vibrant with each passing second. A discovery like that could be the lifeblood of her exhibition, the very spark Crescent Hollow needed. "Absolutely, but there's a catch." Jake's voice turned serious again, and the excitement dimmed slightly. These fossils are buried deep in the old quarry. The one the council has been thinking of filling in. I don't know how much time we have before they start covering it up. Are you sure it's worth it? Can we trust anyone with this? The last thing I want is to hand over this trail to people who don't care they need to see the fossils, Ellie. If we can get a sample up for testing, it could change everything, he insisted, eyes gleaming with fervor. Ellie took a deep breath, the weight of what lay ahead settling on her shoulders. All right, let us do it. We can start the excavation as soon as possible. At that moment, the doubts that had threatened to drown her began to lift. Hope flickered, igniting a warmth in her chest. Maybe this was what it all led up to, a real opportunity to show her town what they could accomplish. As they walked back toward the town hall, their discussion flowed like a river. Plans, possibilities, and strategies. Ellie could almost see the community center filled wall to wall with energy, laughter, and families marveling at the treasures they had unearthed. But just as they reached the parking lot, a car screeched to a stop nearby. A town council member, Mr. Hargrove, stepped out, eyebrows furrowed and jaw tightly set. He cast a look their way that felt as sharp as a blade, and Ellie's heart raced again. Had he overheard them? Ellie, hold on, Jake whispered, grabbing her arm. We should be careful about this. We can't let anyone else catch wind of our plans yet. The tension in the air thickened, but Ellie clenched her fists. She couldn't let fear dictate her actions, especially when everything she desired was within reach. Let us make sure this town remembers what it's missing, she said, determination shining through. As she turned to face Mr. Hargrove, the excitement intertwined with a sense of dread. What if he didn't share their vision? What if he stood in their way? And as those thoughts rolled through her head, one question hung above them like a storm cloud. Were they ready to fight for what they believed in, no matter the cost? The moment stretched as Ellie locked eyes with Mr. Hargrove. His expression was unreadable, and she felt her stomach knot. He strolled forward, hands shoved deep into his jacket pockets, the cold wind biting at their faces. Ellie, he said, voice low but firm. Can I have a word? Jake's grip on Ellie's arm tightened. Let us not, she shook her head, pulling free and stepping toward Hargrove. What is it, Mr. Hargrove? He cleared his throat, and for a brief moment, surprise flashed across his face. Ellie's courage faltered. She felt watched, each second stretching painfully. I wanted to discuss your speech. You're stirring up quite the discussion within the council. Some folks are worried you're putting too much energy into this fossil nonsense. Ellie's heart pounded. Nonsense? These fossils could change everything for Crescent Hollow. Change isn't always good. Ellie. Hargrove crossed his arms, staring down at her like she was a scrappy kid trying to prove a point. You might want to think about what you're really after. The town can't just chase every dream. Something broke inside her. This isn't just a dream. I'm trying to save our heritage. We're losing touch with who we are. Hargrove shifted, his stance softening just slightly. Heritage is important. But what's more important is keeping the town functional, keeping jobs safe behind her. She could feel Jake's frustrated energy, but Ellie couldn't falter now. So, you're okay with letting it all be buried literally? What about the future generations? Don't they deserve to know their history? Hargrove sighed, exhaustion in his voice. It's not that simple. Just then, a shout from across the parking lot caught their attention. A couple of kids were running, laughing, with a cardboard sign that read "Save the Fossils." And just like that, Ellie felt a warmth rush through her. If only Mr. Hargrove could see what she did, the excitement of discovering something meaningful. Hargrove, look at them. That's the town's spirit. She pleaded. Can't you feel it? This could bring us together. It could be Ellie. He snapped. You're going to get the entire council against you and ruin whatever credibility you have left. You have to think carefully about the battle you're trying to start. But Ellie was fueled by something deeper than fear. I am thinking carefully. I can't just let this chance slip away. Not when I can see the difference we could make. Her voice trembled as the passion flooded her, and she took a step closer. I want this to mean something, not just to me but to everyone. Hargrove shifted again, his brow furrowing. Be cautious. Before she could respond, he turned and walked away, leaving heavy silence in his wake. Ellie felt the flame inside her flicker but not die. It sparked again as Jake stood beside her, hands still deep in his pockets but eyes now bright. Ellie, that was bold, he said, admiration in his voice. You really stood up for what matters. She smiled despite the knot of anxiety still twisting in her stomach. I had to. As they walked away from the parking lot, her resolve hardened. They needed to act and fast. But how would they gather the proof they needed without tipping off the council? What if we sneak in tonight? Jake suggested, glancing sideways. We could scope out the quarry, see what we're dealing with before making any big moves. Ellie's heart raced at the thought. The danger was real, but so was the possibility. They could become the champions of Crescent Hollow, a risky, exhilarating prospect. Yeah, she said, determination flooding her again. Let us do it tonight. We'll find those fossils and no one will stop us. As they made plans under the dimming light of dusk, a sense of urgency settled in. They weren't just fighting for validation. They were fighting for a legacy. But in the distance, Ellie saw Hargrove's figure linger, watching from the shadows. What did he really think? Did he wonder if they'd succeed? Or was there something deeper he feared? The night held its breath, waiting for a spark to ignite the unknown dangers ahead. Night wrapped around Crescent Hollow like a thick blanket, muffling the sounds of the world. Ellie and Jake approached the quarry, their breaths visible in the chilly air. The only light came from the pale glow of the moon, illuminating the jagged rocks that surrounded them. Hand in hand, they moved cautiously, adrenaline humming in their veins. Do you think anyone's watching? Jake whispered, scanning the darkness. Let us not think about that. Ellie squeezed his hand, light but firm, channeling her nervous energy into determination. They were on a mission. For the past few days, her mind had been clouded with doubt. But now, this felt right, a pulse of possibility coursing through her. They reached the edge of the quarry, peering into the abyss below. It was more daunting than she had imagined. Cold echoes bounced off the walls, as if the rock itself was observing their every move. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. Do you see anything? Jake asked, crouching near the edge. Not yet. Ellie squinted, focusing. But it's got to be down there. A thrill of excitement mixed with anxiety bubbled inside her. Could they really uncover something worth fighting for? Something that could change Mr. Hargrove's mind? Her heart hammered against her ribs as she imagined the council's faces when she presented actual evidence of their town's hidden treasure. Just think, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. If we find those fossils, everything will change. People will see how significant this is. Jake nodded, his eyes sparkling with the same fervor. We'll be heroes. She grinned, shaking off the lingering shadows of doubt. They were in this together. As Ellie scanned the rough surface of the quarry walls, a flicker of movement caught her eye. Over there. They both leaned forward, straining to see. As Ellie pointed, she felt a rush of hope. Had they really found something? Drawing closer, the ground beneath her shifted slightly. She steadied herself, aware of every heartbeat. I can't believe we're actually doing this, Jake murmured, his voice trembling with excitement. As they drew nearer, the glint of something caught Ellie's eye. Small, but unmistakably there, nestled in the crevices of the rock. She leaned down, her breath hitching. This is it. This has to be it. Jake's hand clutched her shoulder. Be careful. We need to. Before he could finish, the ground shifted again, and Ellie stumbled, grabbing for support. Her heart raced, not just with fear but with exhilaration as she steadied herself. The moment was surreal, an intoxication of possibility and peril. When she looked up again, her gaze met Jake's, filled with a mixture of concern and encouragement. Let us go a bit deeper, she said, her voice stealing strength from the night air. We can't stop now. They took another step forward when suddenly, a sound echoed from behind them. A low rustle, unmistakably human. Ellie froze, feeling a jolt of panic race through her. Did you hear that? She breathed. Jake's eyes widened. We need to get out of here now. But something inside Ellie pushed back against the urge to flee. They were so close. What if they were right on the edge of the greatest discovery of their lives? The rustling grew louder, shooting electric pulses of fear down her spine. Ellie turned, facing whatever lay behind them, heart pounding like a drum. Was it just the wind, or was it someone coming for them? Ellie had never felt so alive and terrified in equal measure. What lay ahead could change everything. But in the shadows, two intense eyes gleamed, and Ellie realized that they weren't alone anymore. Ellie's breath caught in her throat as the shadows shifted. Her eyes widened, heart racing like a hummingbird trapped in a glass jar. A figure emerged, a silhouette framed against the dim moonlight, its identity cloaked in uncertainty. "Who's there?" Jake's voice wavered, but there was a braver edge to it, a protective instinct rising to the surface. Ellie felt a surge of support from him, but fear still gripped her throat. She scanned the darkness, searching for any clue as to what was watching them. "Don't move." The voice that emerged was gravelly and low, a mixture of authority and warning. Ellie's heart plummeted. It was unmistakably a teenager, perhaps older than them, but the tension in the air thickened with every second. "Are you trespassing?" the figure asked, stepping closer, and the moon's glow caught a hint of detail: messy hair, an old jacket, and eyes sharp with suspicion. "No, we're looking for fossils," Ellie stammered, glancing at Jake for reassurance. "We're not here to cause any trouble." "Fossils?" The other teen smirked, skepticism dancing across his features. "You think you can just waltz in here and find something? This place is dangerous." A flicker of irritation coursed through Ellie, but she held back. "We know that," Jake chimed in, "but we think there's something really important down there, something that can help our town." "Yeah, right." The teen's eyes narrowed, and he crossed his arms. "And why would I believe you? You could just be looking to make a mess." Ellie felt her frustration bubbling to the surface. "We're not. This isn't just about us. It's south about Crescent Hollow. We want to preserve its history." Her words spilled out with passion, eyes locking with the strangeress. "How do you even know what's down there?" He shot back, his voice picking up a challenge. Suddenly, Ellie realized that whatever was unfolding here wasn't merely about the fossils. It was a battle for trust, a message buried under their teenage bravado. Because she hesitated, glancing at Jake, who nodded at her with encouragement. "We've been reading about the Cambrian explosion and how it all connects to our region. Our teachers said it could change how people see the quarry. There's so much we can learn." The teen's expression softened for just a moment, surprise flickering across his features. "And you think more than just bones?" "Absolutely," Jake interjected, sensing an opening. "We want to show people what Crescent Hollow really is. Don't you care about that?" The air hung heavy with uncertainty. The stranger shifted, less aggressive now, still skeptical but contemplating. "Why should I believe you too? Rumors about the quarry aren't pretty. Everyone thinks it's just a dump now." For a split second, Ellie's heart sank. The truth had the potential to empower them, but against the tide of doubt, their words felt fragile. But as she looked into the other teen's eyes, she sensed a glimmer of shared hope. "What if we work together?" she proposed suddenly, feeling an unexpected burst of courage. "Show you what we've found. If we can't convince you, we'll leave. No questions asked." The teen tilted his head, chewing over the offer. "And if you're just wasting my time, then you'll have every right to tell us to get lost," Jake replied, determination cutting through the tension. Ellie held her breath, waiting. The silence pulsated like a heartbeat, thick with possibilities. "It's risky," the stranger finally said, and Ellie felt her heart race once more, this time with growing excitement. "Risk is how we find treasure," she shot back, not backing down. Just then, the rustling from earlier returned, louder now, snapping the moment's focus like a twig beneath heavy boots. Shadows shifted in the darkness, and suddenly there were more figures. Heart pounding again, Ellie felt the urgent prick of adrenaline flood her senses. Who were they now? "Stay close," Ellie whispered to Jake, more an instinct than a planned move. The quarry, once a place of hope, had morphed into something uncertain and potentially dangerous again. But there was a thrill, a possibility, that ignited her spirit. What if this was the beginning of a partnership? One that could unveil the quarry's secrets together. As the figures drew near, she braced herself. But what lay in the shadows could change everything they thought they knew. Ellie's heart thudded in her chest as the dark shapes materialized from the shadows. She could see them now, silhouettes of at least 3 more teenagers, all looking just as cautious as the first. Their features obscured, they stepped forward slowly, the tension in the air growing thicker. "Back off, Felix," one of them called out, clearly annoyed. "We don't need any more headaches tonight." The new voice sounded familiar, gruff, but with an underlying layer of concern. Felix, the first teen, looked momentarily rattled but quickly regained his composure. "Relax, it's just them," he responded, gesturing towards Ellie and Jake. "They say they want to help with the quarry." Ellie's stomach twisted. Would they be met with skepticism again? But then she noticed a flicker in the eyes of one of the new figures. A girl with a wild mess of curls. Her expression shifting from suspicion to curiosity. "What do you mean, help?" she asked, her voice softer now. "You're from Crescent Hollow, right?" Jake nodded eagerly. "Yeah, we want to see if there are real fossils down there, not just scraps. We're trying to preserve what's left of the town's history." The girl's glance flicked between Jake and Ellie, as if weighing their intentions. There was a moment of silence, an echo of hesitation hanging in the air. Felix turned to her, irritation creeping back into his tone. "You really think they can do anything? They're just kids." Ellie felt a flare of defiance. "I know what I'm talking about, and we're not just kids. We've been researching. Researching isn't the same as finding," one of the other teens interrupted, crossing her arms. "How do you expect to convince anyone of anything without evidence?" "Maybe we can show them," the girl suggested thoughtfully, her eyes lighting up with a spark of inspiration. "Let us take them to the old site. If they can find something that proves the quarry's worth, maybe it'll be more than just tales." "Are you out of your mind, Mai?" Felix scoffed. "You want us to risk our hides for these newcomers?" But Ellie felt a surge of hope at Mai's proposal. "We won't let you down," she said, her voice firm. "We can make a difference together. You care about this place, just like we do." Before anyone could respond, a loud crash echoed through the quarry, cutting through their discussion like a knife. Startled, they all turned toward the sound, a sense of foreboding washing over them. The shadows seemed to dance ominously, and Ellie felt that same dread creeping back in. "What was that?" Jake whispered, and Ellie could hear the alarm in his voice. "I don't know," Felix said, his bravado crumbling. "But it doesn't sound good." "We should check it out," Mai suggested, though Ellie could see uncertainty in her eyes. "If something's down there, something's always down there," Felix shot back. "That's why we don't come here after dark." Ellie felt the weight of indecision burdensome. Beneath her fear, a flicker of excitement ignited. This could be a test of courage, not just for her, but for all of them. "We came here to uncover something important," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "If something's happening, it might lead us to what we're searching for. Isn't that worth the risk?" The group exchanged glances, hesitation mingling with a growing curiosity and determination. "Fine," Felix said grudgingly, allowing a hint of respect to filter through his tone. "But if we go, we stick together. No one gets left behind." As Ellie and Jake fell in step with the others, the adrenaline surged within her. The quarry was more than just a place. It was now a crossroads of possibilities, secrets waiting to be discovered, but at what cost? The tight knot of fear and excitement twisted into something electric inside her chest. What lay ahead could be a treasure or a trap. As they stepped cautiously toward the source of the noise, a profound question took shape in her mind. Would they find the truth they sought, or would the darkness consume them all? Turning to Jake, she quietly asked, "Are you ready for this?" Their eyes met, and in that fleeting moment they both understood this was just the beginning. They moved forward in a tight group, the darkness of the quarry wrapping around them like a heavy cloak. Each footstep echoed sharply, a reminder of how alone they were in this vast, shadowy expanse. Ellie could feel her heart racing. A mix of fear and thrill coursed through her veins. "What do you think it was?" Jake whispered, glancing around nervously. Ellie shrugged, trying to project confidence. "I don't know, but we need to see," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. A flicker of movement to the left caught her eye, but when she turned, the only thing she saw was the jagged outline of the cliff against the moonlight. Felix led the way, stepping cautiously toward the source of the crash. He'd taken on a role of reluctant leader, his earlier bravado dimmed but still evident as he pushed forward. Mai followed closely, her curls bouncing with each careful step. The others were close behind, exchanging anxious looks. "Over there." Mai pointed to a darker section of the quarry where the noise had come from. The shadows were denser there, swallowing any light. Ellie's breath caught in her throat. "Let us check it out. If it's a rock slide, we need to make sure no one is trapped. Or it could be something worse." Another teen murmured under his breath, his face pale. "Shoo," Felix hissed, pressing farther into the dark. "Stay sharp, everyone. Just keep your eyes peeled." Ellie instinctively reached for Jake's hand, squeezing it tightly. He didn't flinch but instead returned her grip. They knew they were stepping into the unknown, where shadows could conceal something life-threatening or something extraordinary. As they approached the source of the sound, the ground beneath them was uneven, littered with stones and bits of treacherous debris. Ellie slipped slightly, and Jake steadied her, a warm spark amid the gathering dread. "Be careful," he said softly. Then they heard it again, a soft rustle, followed by a low growl. The hairs on the back of Ellie's neck stood up. "What was that?" she breathed, her voice shaking before anyone could answer. A figure lunged out from behind a boulder, a small creature, barely knee-high, with wild eyes and a mop of tangled fur. Everyone jumped back, hearts racing, bracing themselves, but then they laughed, the tension breaking. It was just a raccoon, likely scrounging for scraps in the disarray. "Way to scare us, buddy," Mai chuckled, even as she leaned on Felix, who rolled his eyes but couldn't hide a fleeting smile. But their laughter turned to silence as something shiny caught Ellie's eye among the debris. She moved closer, that sense of possibility swelling within her once more. She knelt, brushing away dirt and stones, revealing the glimmering edge of an object half buried in the ground. "Hey, what is it?" Jake asked, stepping closer, his curiosity piqued. I think Ellie stared at it, recognizing the outline. "It looks like some sort of ancient tool or maybe a fossil, something we've never seen before." Elated gasps arose from the group, excitement replacing fear. "If it is what I think it is, we could be onto something huge," Mai said, her voice tinged with disbelief. "Let us dig it out," Felix urged, his earlier skepticism momentarily forgotten. They huddled around Ellie, hands racing to carefully expose the object. Each scoop of dirt felt like a heartbeat, anticipation tingling in the air. But as they finally revealed it, the unease returned. That it was a stone, half-cracked with strange etchings carved onto its surface. It pulsed with an odd energy, revealing patterns that seemed almost alive. "What does it mean?" Jake asked, eyes wide. Before Ellie could answer, an ominous rumble shook the ground beneath them. Their frantic digging brought them closer to something that had remained hidden for too long. "Run!" Felix shouted, panic erupting amongst them. The ground trembled again, and a loud crash echoed in response. This time not just an accident but a warning. As they sprinted back toward the entrance, Ellie felt a mix of exhilaration and fear. They had stumbled upon something great, but they had also awakened something dangerous. The quarry wasn't just a relic of the past. It was a living secret that could hold the key to their town's story or lead them to ruin. Her thoughts raced. What secrets were buried deeper? As they fled into the night, one question overshadowed the rest. Would they uncover the town's true history or lose themselves in the darkness? The ground continued to shake beneath their feet as they dashed toward safety, each step a desperate attempt to escape the quarry's chaotic grasp. Ellie felt her lungs burning, but adrenaline pushed her forward. Behind her, the panicked voices of her friends echoed in the darkness. A reminder that they were not alone in this moment of terror. "Keep running," Felix called again. His voice sharp and commanding. I stumbled but quickly regained her footing, weaving through sharp rocks and uneven patches. "We shouldn't have dug that thing out," she gasped, regret flooding her tone. The stone their discovery had shifted something far more significant than they could have imagined. Ellie wished they could turn back and forget it. The thrill of finding something ancient had sputtered into fear, replaced by the haunting uncertainty of what they had awakened. Just as they neared the exit, Ellie spotted Jake stumbling behind her, his expression twisted in pain. "Jake!" she shouted, fear tightening around her throat. She skidded to a halt, the panic rippling through her as she turned back for him. I'm okay, Jake breathed, though his face had paled. "I just twisted my ankle." The ground shuddered harder, and a small rock tumbled down the cliffside. Ellie could see the terror mirrored in his eyes. "We can't stop, we have to know," Jake interrupted, lifting his chin defiantly, the hurt in his voice battling against his resolve. "I'd rather stay behind than have you all be caught in whatever this is." In that moment, Ellie felt something deeper than fear. It was a desperate surge of loyalty. "I'm not leaving you," she insisted, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. As if to punctuate her determination, another violent tremor cascaded through the quarry, shaking the very walls. The others had retreated a little ways ahead but paused to see what was happening. Felix, still leading the group, darted back. "We'll help him. We just need to get out of here." He knelt beside Jake, ready to help him up as that sliver of action unfolded. Ellie felt the very ground beneath them shifting. A low rumble filled the air, a menacing growl that made her skin prickle. The stone they had uncovered seemed to pulse again, almost mocking their struggle. "Ellie now," I urged, her eyes wide. The urgency of the moment pierced through the chaos. "We can't waste time." With a determined nod, she turned back to Jake. "On three, all right? We'll get you up and you can lean on me." "Just go," he insisted, trying to sound brave despite the pain in his voice. "On three," she insisted, feeling an unyielding strength surge through her as they counted down. Ellie's heart raced, matching the frantic tempo of the vibrating earth. They heaved together, Jake leaning heavily against Ellie as they stumbled toward the safety of the quarry's entrance. With sheer will and the help of the others, they managed to drag Jake to his feet. Every step was agonizing, but they pushed forward, breathing hard. The tremors began to settle, and with it came an odd sense of calm. Though the air was still charged with tension, finally, they burst through the mouth of the quarry, collapsing onto the grass under the moonlight, gasping for breath. The cool night air washed over them like a refreshing balm, yet the gravity of what they'd unearthed hung heavy in the air. As they caught their breath, Ellie glanced back at the shadowy opening. The traces of the hidden stone glinted like a ghost against the darkness. What had they truly uncovered? Footsteps on the gravel caused them to turn, and a figure emerged, a silhouette framed by moonlight. "You kids shouldn't have been there," the deep voice rumbled, sending a new wave of unease rippling through them. "Who are you?" Felix demanded, scrambling to his feet. The figure stepped closer, revealing an older man with wild white hair and an intensity in his eyes that seemed to bore into their souls. "I am the keeper of secrets, and what you have found is only the beginning. You have unleashed something ancient." Ellie's heart raced for a different reason now. This was just the start. What other truths lay waiting beneath the surface of their ordinary lives? As the moon shone down, illuminating the darkness around them, she realized their journey had only just begun. What had they awoken, and how far would they have to go to find out the truth? The remnants of adrenaline coursed through Ellie as she stared at the keeper of secrets. The world around her felt both foreign and alive, as if the night itself echoed with a silent promise. "What do you mean we unleashed something?" she asked, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. The others leaned in, curiosity mingling with trepidation. The man's gaze shifted, piercing through the shadows. "The quarry holds stories, ancient ones. You have drawn back the curtain on a world that has long waited for its truth to be uncovered. But know this, with each discovery comes a choice. Will you protect what you find or let it slip into the abyss of indifference? Ellie's heart thudded. The weight of responsibility pressed down like an anvil resting on her chest. This was bigger than just a fossil exhibition. This was a call to arms, a chance to rekindle the spirit of Crescent Hollow. She exchanged anxious glances with Jake and the others. They were in this together. But how do we protect it? Felix asked, brow furrowed, struggling with the implications of their actions. We're just kids. What are we supposed to do if something dangerous is down there? The answer lies within you, the keeper said, a hint of a smile creeping into his weathered features. Harness the courage and passion you've ignited. Gather your community. Inspire them. Show them the significance of what lies beneath. If you believe the past can guide your future, then it can. But it must be embraced together as a united front. Ellie felt a spark inside, that pulse of determination growing stronger. Together she echoed softly, her mind racing with possibilities. What if the town, once so steeped in resignation, could rediscover its purpose? Revive its hope? The keeper nodded. Every vibrant future is built on the foundations of the past. Listen closely, for the ground has much to share, but only if you dare to seek its wisdom together. With that, he let out a low whistle, a sound that vibrated with the earth itself. The ground trembled, this time a gentle pulse rather than a chaotic shake, resonating with the promise of revelation. Feel it. Hear it. You are more connected than you know. Ellie shared a look with Jake, whose eyes mirrored her excitement. This was their moment, the spark they had sought amid doubt and skepticism. It wasn't just about uncovering fossils. It was about unearthing a story that clamored to be told. Meet me tomorrow, she said, infusing her tone with determination. We'll gather our findings, speak to the council again, and share our vision for exposing the true power of the quarry. This isn't about us. This is about everyone, our families, our town. I chimed in enthusiastically, stepping forward. Let us show them the potential we've been hiding. This could change everything. After a moment's hesitation, Felix nodded, resolved. All right, but we need a solid plan. We can't just walk in there unprepared. Together, they formed an exhilarating pact, their shared excitement echoing into the night. The journey ahead was daunting, but they felt emboldened. They were not merely searching for fossils. They were on the brink of a movement. A reawakening. As they turned to leave, Ellie took one last glance at the quarry, now cloaked in mystery and promise. The keeper of secrets had planted seeds of courage, and she would nurture them, transforming fear into inspiration. Tomorrow, she would show Crescent Hollow that dreams could thrive amidst hardship, a reminder that their history was more than just old bones. It was a legacy waiting to soar once again. Days melted into nights, and the sun would rise on a new beginning. Ellie's heart brimmed with hope as they headed back to the town, laughter accompanying them into the night. But it wasn't just laughter, it was the soft hum of a community ready to awaken, poised to embrace a shared adventure and write their own future. Now is the moment for you to join us on this journey. You need to subscribe immediately to not miss the next exclusive stories unfolding. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm so we can keep sharing amazing transformations. And comment below your thoughts, feelings, and reactions to this powerful ending. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see the magic of community and dreams coming together.